I bid you welcome.
Danger, Will Robinson. Danger. They've rebooted our show, and it's not very good.
Can you use the word reboot, or can you just scratch that out and put messed up?
I don't know. I mean, that's the thing in Hollywood right now, is to reboot everything, right? It's like, ladies and gentlemen, we've completely run out of all ideas, so we have to reboot all the old ideas, but mix them up a little bit by changing the races and or the sex of the characters to make it seem fresh and new.
Well, I think we should start by saying that anyone listening to this, we have watched pretty much the first 2 episodes. We haven't watched the whole season,
and it's up in the air whether or not we will watch.
Yeah, it's debatable.
And also,
I had to have a break on episode 2 just to go and have a walk around.
Also, folks, we have to say that this is very spoiler heavy. So if you have not seen the current reboot of Lost in Space, currently airing only on Netflix, it is a Netflix exclusive. You might not want to listen to this if it's going to mess with your, if your spoiler stuff is going on. But if you're cool with spoilers or you've already watched it, then by all means, sit back, relax, and enjoy us two tear this shit a new one. So let's start off first, Reeves, with me asking you, did you ever watch the original Lost in Space?
Yes, I did, as a very small child.
Yes.
And I've enjoyed it very much.
Yeah, me too. I was the same way. If you watch it now, of course, it's fucking retard nonsense.
It looks very clunky.
But it's fun. But you get the nostalgic thing, and it's fun to watch because it is so campy, with Doctors, come along, Will, my boy. You bubble-headed booby, the robot,
very,
and all this stuff. Yeah, but it was fun. It was camp. It was goofy. Oh, come on, Dr. Smith. Let's go over here. No, Will, it's too terrifying. All this stuff. It was a fun show. So what they've done here with the reboot is they've taken the basic premise of the original show, because the original show started off as a serious sci-fi show, and then over the course of the first season rapidly devolved into comedy, which saved the show in many respects and kept it on for a few more years. But they've taken the basic premise of the show, the Robinson family, which is a take on the Swiss family Robinson, and they put them in space instead of on a desert island. And they encounter aliens and they're lost in space. That's basically the premise of the show. But they've radically updated it, of course, with killer special effects, all redesigned, and made a brand new show, which I have to say I was kind of excited to see.
Yeah, but I also want to include here that we had the original TV series, which really did come across as a TV series. It was obviously made for television, and it was a TV show, much in the same ilk as the original Star Trek episodes were TV shows. But this is kind of a reboot of a reboot, because we had the film.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. There was the film with.
I kind of enjoyed the film.
Yeah, the film came out in the late '90s with William Hurt and Gary Oldman, and I remember there was a controversy when the film came out because they got all the surviving cast members of the original Lost in Space TV show. They had them in the movie as cameos, just like a short little cameo, a little nod to the past. Except for Jonathan Harris, who played Dr. Smith, Dr. Zachary Smith, and he wouldn't do it. And they asked him, and he said, "No, dear boy, I am Dr. Smith." He says it was like he would only do the movie if he could play Dr. Smith. But they don't, Gary Oldman was going to play Dr. Smith in the movie.
I think Gary Oldman did a really good job.
He was great,
playing Dr.
He was
Smith.
great. So, to jump forward to the new show, they've done something which they're continually doing, is that they've made the new Dr. Smith in this show is, of course, a female. And they've sex swapped Dr. Smith. And they've made her, evil and cunning, just like the original Dr. Smith was in the first season of Lost in Space. But it'll be interesting to see if she slowly becomes more comedic over time.
The thing is, though, the thing is, and we said at the beginning of this episode of this review, we are in spoiler territory now, no holds barred. The Dr. Smith in this one isn't really Dr. Smith.
Right.
She steals someone's identity.
Yeah, and
so who is she?
And here's what's interesting is in the beginning of the show, all shit's breaking loose, and this is all done through a series of flashbacks during the episode. Because,
it's this parallel. It's like two stories going to. It's like
there's two stories going
and
at
an
once.
after. Yeah,
right, and it's a flashback, and you see the new Dr. Smith stealing a Dr. Smith jacket off a crew member who's dying. And I don't know if you recognize that crew member, but that crew member was Bill Mumy, who played the original Will Robinson in the original Lost in Space. So
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so that was him. I noticed. So that was a little homage to the original show. So that was so the kid, Will Robinson, the kid in the original show. That was so I guess he's playing the real Dr. Smith in this reboot. But she steals his coat and becomes, Dr. Smith. So we'll see.
She needs an ID to get on
the ship. Yeah.
At this time, the if we can explain that the main ship, the mothership, is all these Jupiter vessels are each vessel has got its own number. So Jupiter 10, Jupiter 7, and all these Jupiter vessels are attached to this main ship, and this ship is under attack. And you need an ID to get on a Jupiter ship.
And the Jupiter
ships doesn't have one.
No, because the Jupiter ships are designed only for families. Because this is a colony vessel that's going out to expand humanity throughout the solar system and or the galaxy. Because something's going on with the Earth, and they haven't really defined what was going on the Earth. But there's a few little news clips that they interchange, some kind of asteroid or something. But something's going on Earth that's going to fuck up everything. So they have to leave. So they have this huge ship with all these Jupiter vessels, Jupiter 1 through 18 or 1 through 20, and they're for families. And these vessels detach from the main mothership and then blast off to settle on colony planets so humanity can survive. And Lost in Space follows the adventures of the crew of Jupiter 2, which is the Robinson family who were stranded on this planet. So I was excited to watch this show, Reeves, but I was immediately frustrated when watching it because it's one of those shows, or at least the first episode was, where everything goes wrong. And when everything's... it's very difficult for me to watch those kind of shows. Like Meet the Fockers, Meet the Parents spring to mind, that Ben Stiller movie.
Yeah.
I have a very hard time watching that movie. Not because it's not a good movie or it's not because it's not a funny movie. It's just that it's everything that can go wrong goes wrong, and it's very difficult for me to watch. And
it's predictable.
Yeah, and I found the same thing with Lost in Space. So they crash land on an ice planet, and they escape from their ship. Their ship then sinks to the bottom of a lake. So they think, okay, well, we'll swim down to the ship to get supplies. Then the lake freezes solid. So then they got to go get magnesium, and then they lose the kid. And I'm like, oh my, what else can go wrong? This is insane.
Yeah. Yeah, the thing is that you have all these moments at the first sort of act of the film where all these things go wrong, and we kind of come into the first episode where everything already is going wrong, and they're on their Jupiter ship, and it's currently descending into the atmosphere of this planet in an uncontrolled fashion.
Right.
And they're all hanging on. Why they can't fly, I don't know. It's all being done by a computer.
It's all automated. They're playing cards.
Yeah, and the thing is, it's like then after they crash, and then you start to have the different, the individuals are being introduced with their own, their characters and stuff. And from that point on, I started to get really confused about what was going on. And
the flashbacks would kind of fill things in a little bit. So the characters in this, I mean, it's a sign of the times, I guess. They have to bring things forward and modernize things. So, I guess the commander of the vessel or who the leader is the mom, the woman, Mrs. Robinson, is the commander. The dad is like a military guy. And they're constantly butting heads. Then you get the kids who are different levels of genius, right? One kid is a medical doctor, the other kid's a geologist, the other kid's a whatever the fuck, and they're all genius kids with the mom and dad, with the mom running the show, which is also a flip, because had this show been made 10 years, even just 10 years ago, the dad would have been running the show. You know what I mean? It's this flip of gender roles, just because of the state of the culture we're in right now.
Mm. Well, even at one point in, I think it's episode 1 or 2, the mother actually says, "I'm in charge.
Yeah.
I'm always right."
Yeah.
And from that, I'm thinking, well, that's quite a statement to make. And the father, who is kind of some kind of special ops military guy background, he seems to be the one that's always making the rash decisions or trying to do the right thing but does the wrong thing, but kind of gets all right in the end with the help of the other people. And then we see these are all meant to be like people at the top of their tree, and we see Will Robinson, who is kind of he's the defective one out of all of them, because he didn't even qualify to go on the ship unless the ID was changed. So they did some thing there, and he's the one that's kind of like the one that's always crying and too scared to do things. And
the girls are all brave, right? The female, all the female crew members are all brave and eager to do stuff.
Yeah.
Will Robinson, the boy, he's always crying and he doesn't want to do it. And he's like, "Mom, I don't want to do it," and all this. You got the dad then, whose heart's in the right place, who wants to do the right thing, but he's always clumsy and bumbling and fucking things up. Then you got the mom, who's very rational and solid and always makes the right decisions and guides the crew to the. I mean, it's like it's fucking madness. It's
what I did find a little bit confusing before we take this to a bit further. We have the family unit, but we've got Judy and we've got Will. But we've got the colour girl. We've got one colour girl who's part
we got a black girl in there.
And I think, well,
how did that happen?
Is she part of another family, or is she part?
Maybe
of
she's adopted.
Treat her like a daughter, so she must be part of their family.
Maybe she's adopted, or
yeah. But I want to know her backstory, because because she seems quite intelligent, quite switched on. She seems to be. Yeah. She's able to fly the ship. She can take charge. So there must be because in the other film, we had there were two daughters. There was Penny,
right.
And then there was the other girl. So I'm wondering if they're setting up some sort of story within a story here. So we find out how she becomes part of the family unit. Maybe they adopted her. Where her skill set comes from, and maybe she's got her own backstory, because she's got something going on. Because we didn't explain that she got frozen.
Oh yeah.
In the lake, didn't she? That's affected her a bit.
So that frozen part, I thought I kind of enjoyed that. That was pretty good. When she was swimming around in the lake, with the Jupiter 2 is submerged in this lake, and they're on this ice planet. So once the sun goes down,
everything freezes.
Everything freezes very quickly. Mm. So as she's trying to swim out of the lake, the water's freezing around her, and as she's almost to the surface, it just freezes solid and locks her in place in the water. Which I thought that was pretty cool. That was a nice touch.
Well, originally they wanted Will to do it, but he didn't want to do it.
Yeah, he chickened out.
She said, "Look," she just jumps in and said, because they had got these special suits on that they're totally encased, and she had to get a power cell, didn't she? So they had warmth at night, so that they wouldn't freeze. But obviously, and of course, then they see the mountain in the distance with the magnesium fires and stuff, and the father and Will, that he decided to go there to get this magnesium to melt, to get her out, because her oxygen's running out, and she's only got like 6 hours of oxygen, hasn't she? And this is where it starts to get a bit interesting, this part, because Will and the father, they get split up, don't they? And they have their own.
Yeah, he loses
own
the
kind of
kid.
little stories.
And the kid slides down the glacier and pops out at the bottom where it's like a forest area with trees and stuff. And he finds an alien spacecraft that's crashed on the planet. And he finds the robot, but the robot is like he's broken in half.
Yeah, it's broken, yeah.
And his legs are on the bottom walking around, and his head is trapped up a tree. And then Will cuts the robot free from the tree, and he falls down, and I guess they reconnect and melds back together the legs and the torso. And by this time, the forest is on fire. So then the robot rescues Will, and then they bond, I guess, and become fast friends. Because, I mean, in the original show, the robot was a major component. I mean, like I said, in the original show, it started off as like the Swiss Family Robinson in space.
Yeah.
With Dr. Smith being the evil bad guy who's the stowaway on the ship. But then over time, it becomes more comedy, and the show becomes basically about Dr. Smith, the robot, and Will. And the rest of the family become like bit players, just bit parts in this weekly comedy hour of Dr. Smith, Will, and the robot. So I'm assuming they're going to do something along. Well, maybe not so much the comedy, but the robot is going to become an integral part of the relationship between Will, Dr. Smith. Those three will team up and become very close, I guess, over the course of as this show goes on. So,
my question is, we've got this far now, and we introduced the robot. What did you think of the robot? Because when the robot reconnects itself, it's a kind of a spider thing.
Yeah.
And yet, when he goes up to Will and touches him, he kind of morphs into a
more humanoid
figure, like us with arms and legs. So what did you think of that?
I thought that was interesting because it looked like that the whatever the robot was built by, or whatever the creatures that built him were more like a spider creature with multiple arms.
Yeah.
But it has the ability to morph into whatever. So it bonds with Will and becomes, a humanoid figure with 2 arms, 2 legs, and a head. But it still has the ability to kind of have these appendages pop out of its back or whatever and do whatever needs to be done.
So I think that there's a lot of area there, because obviously before the robot was part of the ship, and it was a tool on the ship to fix things when they were in deep sleep. So I think that the robot in these episodes. I mean, I've only watched up to episode 2, so I'm both of our. We don't know what's in store. We don't know where it's going to go for the first season.
Exactly.
I mean, there's a lot of people out there that are raving about these episodes and the first season, and it's great and stuff. But I'm a little bit more. I like things to make a little bit more sense. I go back to, we go back to like The Last Jedi or whatever. I like things to make sense, and when things don't make sense, they become. No matter how great they look or whatever, it all comes a bit convoluted.
Well, here's the thing, though,
and nonsensy.
Right. So I was not overly impressed by the first episode, but it was enough to keep my interest. It was not a great episode. It introduced the characters, but we don't know where it's going. I mean, there's a lot of stuff in there that you're like, what? Wait a second, that doesn't make sense. But by episode 6, it might make perfect sense, right? It's just that as we move on, they might explain more and more. But initially, it doesn't make sense at all. Like the white family with the black sister,
and also
that's a bit. It's weird.
Flashback, you get the flashback of the main mothership being attacked by these robots that look just like the robot that Will just met.
Right.
And also, I had to watch episode 2 because I needed to find out what that was all about. And in episode 2, there is a flashback where the robot touches some of the wreckage, and he kind of replays an event where he is seeing, or it's being shown through, because Will sees it as well, that all these people on the ship are being shot, and the ship, it's all everything's going crazy.
Right.
So there is they whether they purposely done it or it's just really bad writing, which I don't think it is. I think they've purposely done it.
It's done on purpose, yeah.
So that there's all these pockets that they can visit and say, well, we're going to tell this story this week, we're going to tell that story this week. and it's going to fill up the first season, hopefully, where all these things are going to be answered. Because at the moment, I'm like watching it, and it's like, I mean, when you get a series, for example, one of the most recent sci-fi series that I've watched is The Expanse.
Oh yeah.
When I first watching that, I couldn't stop watching it. I literally watched the whole thing in a week. Every night I was watching an episode. And then when season 2 came, I couldn't wait, and I watched all that in like 3 days. Because I thought it was I love the characters, I love the story. It wasn't too overly sci-fi yet. You know, it was more kind of based in real life, you know, physics, where you had thrusters and boosters in space and stuff to slow down. And I really like that. As with this, I've been looking forward to this, but I'm watching the first couple of episodes and I'm thinking, this isn't going the way I thought it might go. This has all gone a bit But as you say,
it's like
down the road,
you have to give it a chance, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, if it was just the one episode and then we'd have to wait, you know, a week and then another week after that, and I'd probably bail and I probably wouldn't stick with it.
Well,
but because of the magic of Netflix and you get the entire season right off the bat, then I'll probably watch a few more episodes and see what happens.
There you go. I wanted to raise that fact.
Yeah.
The Netflix usually gives you it in one hit.
Yeah.
Now the thing is, when they're giving you something in one hit, it's usually because they know it's going to be popular, or they know it's not as strong on its own. Each individual episode is not as strong as its own, so they give you the whole season. Because we never got that with Star Trek Discovery. We had to wait for our episode.
Yes.
So, you know, but they were good. I mean, I enjoyed Star Trek Discovery.
I did also.
I mean, it's not really Star Trek. Star Trek.
I was going to say it has its faults. It's not. Yeah. I would say it's not a great show, but I did enjoy. It had its moments. I did enjoy it. Yeah. I mean, there's lots of stuff about it that I don't like and that I would change if I could. Yeah. But for what it is, I mean, I'm looking forward to the next season, and I will be watching it. But having everything. Here's what I was going to say is. The thing that blows me away about this show is that Netflix can make an entire science fiction season of 12, 13 episodes.
Yeah.
And hire all these people, all these writers, all this special effects, make all the episodes, put it all together, and then release it, and everyone finds out that this show exists a week before it airs. Nobody had I had no idea fucking Lost in Space was coming back until 3 weeks ago. Yeah. Right, and then, but other shows, we're hearing rumors that, and you find out months and months before it happens. Whereas Netflix can do all this shit on the down low.
Well, this is the power of the what I call internet TV, where you pay a fee, you get a feed, you get a library of stuff to watch. The company itself is able and has got the skill set and the people behind it to go out and produce a film, or they can produce a set of TV shows. They can make, you know, and they don't need the budget. They don't need the help of the big Hollywood moguls. They have got, I mean, obviously they get investors, but they have got the ability to do it off their own back. Yeah. They can do it themselves. And I think that that's the way it's kind of going now. And I think that there is a lot of people out there that are not too happy that Netflix are doing this kind of thing. I read a thing the other day about people in the movie scene saying that Netflix is making too many of its own productions, which is diluting content, and it's I think it's good. I think that you go onto Netflix, and I maybe one or two, but most of Netflix stuff I watch, and it's not that bad. It's
great.
So I'm hoping that this is going to be a little bit like anything. Sometimes you get a series and you have to watch the first season to kind of get the grounding, and then it starts to happen. It starts to get interesting, because obviously Lost in Space is not a franchise that has been around like Star Wars or anything else.
No,
like
but here's the thing, though.
It hasn't got a backstory. It hasn't got an extended universe.
You're right. But here's the thing, though, Reeves. You're right. It is not a franchise. It's not. But they would like it to be, right? Because if you notice, all the movies that come out, all the TV shows that come out, they're not making, when somebody makes a movie, if Hollywood says, hey, we got this great idea for a movie, it's going to cost $100 million to make, it'll gross, blah blah blah, it's a great idea. They're not thinking, well, we're just going to make this one-off awesome movie. They're thinking, we got to make this a franchise. We've got to make the cinematic universe for this shit. Because, I mean, they're not making movies for kicks. They're not making movies out of the goodness of their heart. They're not making movies for art's sake. They're making movies to make money. They're in this for the business. So they want a franchise. They want to be able to pump out this shit fucking constantly. You know, that's their end game. That's their deal. That's what they're trying to do. You know, so
who do you another question I have is that in episode I think it's episode 2, we're introduced to a second male character who I think is an engineer.
Oh yeah.
And do you think that he is going to be someone that's going to join the family and be part of the, or what? I mean,
there was in the original show there was the dad, you know, Mr. Robinson, and then there was the other guy then who was like on the ship, and I think Penny the kid got the hots for him.
Yeah, because he was he ended up being the boyfriend of the older sister.
Something like that, yeah. So maybe he's going to take that role on the show while they fill out the cast that way. Maybe that'll probably work out
because
that way.
Because that's an interesting way of him catching up with Dr. Smith again.
Yeah, with the
because he's going to like you know, because we see that when Dr. Smith gets rescued, that she did the dirty on him and nicked the flare gun, and he only had one flare left, but she did it in quite a way that the original Dr. Smith would have done by a dirty trick, you know.
Yeah, well, the first season of the original Lost in Space, Dr. Smith was a villain. There's no ifs or buts about it.
Yeah.
He was a bad guy. He was a villain. He was up to no good. He was there for his own selfish purposes. He didn't give a rat's ass about the family, nobody. It was all about him.
Yeah.
Obviously, by the second season and so on, that changed. He became more of a comedic character, but I think that's what they're going to do with this character, this new Dr. Smith, or the fictional imposter Dr. Smith. This woman is going to be a villain, at least for the foreseeable future, or maybe she'll stay that way. I don't know.
But do you think that? See, the thing is, because you've seen them because you saw her take the identity. Are they ever going to learn the truth about who this character really is? Or
I don't know. Maybe.
Do you know what I mean?
Probably.
It's like, I don't think they can ever do that, can they?
Well, they could, I guess. I don't know. We'll see how it plays out. It was a nice touch, though. Nice little spin on things, you know, to throw that in there. I mean, the whole gender swapping of characters, I'm not really a big fan of that, but maybe this will work out. I don't know. I mean, they're doing it a lot these days. You know, they flip the gender of a character to kind of breathe new life into a 50-year-old idea or something. But
I think
it's not that fun. You know, I'm not a big fan of it.
Yeah, maybe it's our age group. I mean, maybe it's our age. But without touching too many nerves, I think that there are times when you can swap a character's identity, their gender. Whatever, but there are times when you shouldn't really do that, because it's not about what people want to see. It's about keeping the story true.
Sure.
To what it should be.
Well, look at it this way, right? Because they do this often, right? They'll swap the gender or the race of a popular fictional character, and they're like, yeah, but the character's fictional. What do you care? As long as it's true to the spirit of the character, let's just make him black, or make him a woman, or just to keep the spirit, and we'll and that's happening a lot these days, right? So I think the culture right now would be very happy and or comfortable with switching the race of, say, James Bond from a white Englishman to a black Englishman, right?
Right. Yeah.
I think they'd be very comfortable in doing that. But I don't think they'd be comfortable with switching the race of, say, the Black Panther to a Chinese guy.
A Chinese Panther.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I see that there's
there are yeah, it does. It does start to get a bit complicated.
Yeah.
And you can't.
You wouldn't do that.
If you're going to
right?
change something, you should be able to change.
They wouldn't do that. Yeah, right. It wouldn't happen.
No.
So some characters, the culture deems it acceptable to flip the switch and make them something else, and other characters, the culture says no. We can't
but it
change
says
that.
a lot about, it does say a lot about the times that we live in and the mindset of the people that make the films. They, they want to be able to do this and swap things around. But I think that, there's no real reason why you can't bring in new characters and expand it that way, which makes it more interesting.
Exactly.
As well. When you bring in new people to it kind of grows, and you can have more going on.
Totally,
you can still have the original.
I agree completely. Instead of switching the gender and or race of insert famous fictional character here, why not just create a new character?
Bring in new characters,
right?
They could be whatever you want them
exactly.
to be.
Yeah, right.
But, that doesn't happen.
But they don't do that. Yeah, they don't go there. And there's shades of cultural conditioning in this Lost of Space also. You can absolutely see it. The family dynamic is very, very culturally PC, right? The way the family is portrayed the dad is going to be a good, strong guy in this show. Like, you can see it even from the first episode. He's going to be a good, strong guy who wants the best for his family, but he's also going to be a bumbling imbecile, right? Whereas the mother is going to be a good, strong woman who wants the best for her family, who knows what the fuck she's doing and going to make good, solid decisions.
Yeah.
And that's the way it's going to play out, right?
That's the way it is in the episode.
Yeah,
that's the way to me clearly,
and that's the cultural conditioning.
You haven't got to be a scientist to figure that out and see what that but I think that younger people who watch it will not see those because they'll be already conditioned to that.
Because they don't know,
to them,
right?
it's just normal. But for someone like ourselves who are a little bit older and have seen films before, it's not about being sexist or non-PC or anything. It's just about
we remember what it was like before, whereas young people don't.
Yeah, and knowing that taking these brands, because there was a push back in the 90s. I think it was the 90s when that film was out, to sort of make Lost in Space a franchise. And there was talk of a second film coming, but it never happened.
No, it just didn't perform financially. Had that movie made a ton of money, guaranteed there would have been multiple sequels. But unfortunately, it didn't.
I think that I like what they did with that. Because it was still like the original episodes that I remembered, but it was more modern. It was more up to date. They had kind of fresher characters. But
it's been a while since I've seen that movie. Maybe I should watch it again. I haven't watched it for years. Maybe when it came out, I watched it and that was it. But I should check it out again. I think I should take
having Gary Oldman in that film was genius, because he was, if you wanted a two-faced villain, he played it perfectly. Yeah. And that's what I liked about that film. And actually, when I heard originally that film was being made, and they said that the guy from Friends, the Joey guy, was going to be in it. Oh, that's
right, yes. I forgot that. Yeah, he was in there.
But when he was in it, I thought, fuck me, he's not bad as a serious actor.
I'd forgotten. That's right. Yeah.
And what was to say? Lacey Chablis. She played
who's that?
Penny. She was the girl. What was she in? She was in Who's the Boss? With Scott Bio.
That was
what was his name?
Oh fuck, I can't remember. I know what you're talking about though. That
she was in that
sitcom. Yeah.
She was a lot older when she was in that film, because she's in her mid-30s now, I think. 40. Yeah. She's grown.
She's got to be in her 40s now. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. But back then she was she was kind of like hot property in the movie world, Yeah. And that's why I think they put her in that film, because it was, she was a known celebrity. Right. And I think because I like the plot of the film, because it was a little bit futuristic, because they went forward in time into an alternative universe, but then they had the mechanical spiders and all that stuff. and Dr. Smith became quite part robot, didn't he? So it was interesting.
I need to watch it again. It's been years since I've seen it, but it'd be interesting to watch that and compare it to the new Lost in Space show. So overall, let's start wrapping this up. I guess the truth about Lost in Space, the reboot. I was not overly impressed by the first 2 episodes, but I'm going to give it a chance and see where it goes and see what happens, with the hopes that it will blossom into a great new science fiction show, with cultural conditioning caveats. What do you think, Reeves?
I think it's got all the ingredients, and to be an interesting ongoing sci-fi series. I'm not in total agreement of the way that they've portrayed the characters. But I think that as long as they don't overdo it, I've obviously seen the first 2 episodes.
Right.
I'm hoping by the end of the first season, I'm going to think, hey, this is not that bad. But at the end of the day, we take it for what it is.
Well, that's what they want, though, right? They want when you've binged watched these 12 episodes or whatever it is. At the end of the 12th episode, they want to leave you with the feeling of, man, I can't wait for the next one.
Well, I don't think I'll be like, I can't wait. If they say that there's no more, I'll be like, okay. Because I must say that I am looking forward to, if you say what are you looking forward to at the moment, I would say I'm looking forward to the next installments of Star Trek Discovery. That's what I'm looking forward to.
Which will be
really
around
kind of clicked
the next year that will come out, I think.
Yeah. It's
all right, there you go. So you have the truth, my friends, about Lost in Space, the reboot. Later, Reeves.
Bye.